Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the live jury question and answer portion of Big Brother Revival. So congratulations to our final three, Roxy, Veronica, and Zach. Tomorrow night, one of them will be crowned the 15th winner of Big Brother Pokemon. But before that, they're going to have to plead their case as to why the jurors should vote for them to win this game. We're going to start with opening statements, go into juror questions, and then we'll wrap up with closing statements. So we're going to go alphabetically for opening statements. So Roxy, you're up first.
Hello. This is like 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Okay. 3 minutes. Fuck. Okay, so every game has a story. This one's no different. If I was to compare this org to any game, or to any movie, it would be High School Musical. And me to Kelsey. Kelsey was a piano player, the one who composed and wrote all the songs that the characters end up singing in all the movies. They would change it to their own tune, but the basis of those songs were composed and written by Kelsey. And the characters wanted to
Okay. So it seems like Roxy's having technical difficulties. um, so sorry, we'll just go ahead. When she gets back, she can finish. So Veronica, we'll go ahead and move on to you.
Okay. Okay. Well, sorry, I'm like crying a little bit. Okay, so first, hi everyone. Thank you to the host. But also like not thank you because this was like one of the most stressful games I've ever played in my entire life. Um, yeah, and so I feel like going into this final three, there's a lot of you that are leaning towards one person in
Discord
particular.
crashed. My sorry, my Discord like crashed. I don't know what happened.
Should I finish or let Roxy?
Yeah. So Veronica, you'll finish your speech, and then Roxy, you'll get to go.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, I feel like when one person's being like, looked at the most, and some people are probably leaning towards that one person. I think we all know who. But I hope by the end of all of this, you will have more of an in-depth understanding of like, I guess, my game and everything I did, and not just the perception and the narrative that I helped push and feed everyone during the season. I have gone from the bottom of this house to basically being like the number one target for many people, to basically just blowing up my whole game to reset it and reestablish the control over my own game, to settling myself up into a comfortable middle position without having the stigma of being a middle player really attached to it, and to now being one of the final three. And considering I am the only finalist in these past 15 seasons to never win a comp and make it to the end, proves that my social and strategic gameplay kind of carried me to the end, and it wasn't just luck. There we
Okay, thank you, Veronica. Roxy, you can go ahead. And you can feel free to start from the beginning since you got cut off and we don't know where.
I don't even know where I was cut off, honestly.
Yeah, so you can just start. It's fine.
Okay, great. Now I can start a list. So every game has a story. This one is no different. If I was to compare this org and my game to any movie, it would be High School Musical. and me to Kelsey. Kelsey was a piano player, and the one who composed and wrote all the songs that the characters end up singing in all the movies. They would change it to their own tune, but the basis of the songs were composed and written by Kelsey. When the characters wanted to practice for a song or to write notes and get advice on their performance, they would go to Kelsey and work with her to create a greater song. Troy and Gabriella would go to her multiple times in the movie, and she was seen as the MVP by the end of the first movie. She's likable and always there and always aware of what is going on. That is my story in this game. I was always present, someone several players would go to bounce ideas off of. I was someone that was always there, always likable, having an influence on things even when I wasn't in the spotlight. I was always aware of what was going on socially and strategically, even when I was not in the middle of all the drama, which actually was a strength for me. While everyone was leaking, being messy, and untrustworthy, I was someone who was stable, grounded, and logical. I had an open mind to work with players who reached out to me. I was confronted about rumors, I was straight up and explained myself, mending relationships or making myself stronger ones. I was always flexible, able to adapt, and was always going to make it to the big show, because without me, the show couldn't go on. This is why from round one, I knew I was making at least Final Four. I was able to accomplish this through my strong social ability and bonds I had built for myself throughout the game. I was constantly making moves despite them not being in the spotlight. I made moves in a way to have the right players in to target each other and a clear path for myself. Not a path of someone who sat around, but one where I was active and went out of my way to solidify a spot in the end I always knew I had. Also, I could sit here without regret with a game I'm confident to present to you. This is Revival Big Brother, and I have been through so much in this org series, and I think I have showcased an excellent show of how one would revive from a shit experience in a Big Brother Pokemon game to one where I have had a significant impact on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Roxy. So Zach, you'll finish us up.
All right. Obviously, I want to thank the host for allowing me to come back a third time to get my revival, and obviously to the players for making this my favorite season that I've had a part in. Not that there was a high bar with some seasons, but nonetheless. Entering this game, I think it's clear or arguable that I had one of, if not probably the biggest target on my back for being the only winner to come back, and that admittedly got me into a bad mentality where I fumbled the ball at times. But I feel like my game in Revival was about perseverance and being an underdog at times, because I started off kind of weak despite trying my hardest, and I still got to the end, and I did a lot of special feats. I broke the comp record career-wise. I obviously survived the block as a final nominee and saved myself at other times. I made moves when I was in power and not in power, whether subtle or big. And I feel like with the whole narrative of this game and the whole storyline, I feel like I had a big involvement in it, and I feel like I would be a great representation to the chaoticness and darkness that was Revival. From start to end, I feel like I just put my blood, sweat, and tears into this game, and I was active from day one. I never had a room to like just slide under the radar and flow. Like, I had to play from the get-go. I hit the ground running, and I feel like I proved myself, and I feel like I made it here on my own terms and helped dictate the narrative for this game. I'm excited for your questions, your concerns, etc. And I'm excited to answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Final Three. So I'm going to go ahead and add our first juror, which is Alyssa. Hi, Alyssa. Hello. Hi. Okay, the floor is all yours. Go ahead.
Excellent. I have 8 minutes, right?
Correct. Yes.
Correct. Excellent. I'm gonna put timer on. I decided to dress up tonight as Queen Ponderosa and as Ice Queen, since everyone decided to ice me out when I got evicted. Not necessarily at all of you. So down to business. As a juror, what I want most of all from the person that I want to give my vote to is someone who has a very strategic grasp of the game and who understands what is happening, has a sense of self-awareness, and a sense of game sense. So that being said, all of my questions are going to be targeting a specific moment in the game. I want to hear your clear thought process on. So, like, pretend that I'm in your diary room at this moment. I want to know what you're thinking, and I want to know your strategy. This is specifically like a strategy task /social/comp if that becomes a part of your strategy. So first person I'm going to ask question to is Zach. So obviously we're both on the block together. We both had similar goals, which made it very hard for me to campaign against you. So talk me through how you managed to go from being nominated against me very early on to not being nominated for another 8 weeks after that. Obviously focus in on the steps that you took after that week / during, if that's important.
Okay, yeah. So whenever I was against you, me and you both had similar mentality that, in a way, Sarah's association with us was what was hurting us the most. And so I focused on going from there, and I started this with the first time I went up against Dom, was starting to say that I am my own person. I'm not going to do what Sarah necessarily wants. I want to do what I want. So after I managed to stay against you, I eventually won HOH like 2 rounds later. And with that, I took out Ashvika, who in my opinion was one of the bigger forces in directing the narrative that get the people like me, like you, like Sarah out of this game. And in addition, when I was HOH, Anthony called me and he would screen share like things that Sarah was doing behind my back. And so obviously I was upset. That was genuine. But I capitalized on that to separate myself from Sarah. So I used it to like talk to people like Anthony and Louise and Roxy and be like, I can't trust Sarah. Like, I want her out soon. And that was genuine. But I feel like I played it up because once I became more of a free agent and was willing to work with everybody and amped up the game talk that I had, I feel like that allowed me to go so long without being nominated after that point. So with building social connections, establishing a game relationship with people, and capitalizing on any piece of information I heard about Sarah going against me, I did my best to distance myself. And that's why like I wasn't nominated by Anthony during live night, was because I wasn't fully with Sarah anymore, and I capitalized on my fractured relationship with that.
So
No offense to
you
her,
would say that your strategy and what made you successful is because you were working with everyone. Is that a
I
good
wouldn't say I was
synopsis?
working with everyone, but after that week, I started establishing more game relationships with a lot of people and was able, I didn't think I played the middle, but I think I was able to have connections with a lot of people, and people saw benefit with keeping me. And I made myself in that, not the number 1 threat position, but still a person that could win comps, that could protect you, that could take out other threats like Sarah, like Anthony, etc.
Okay. I'm going to move on because I only have a specific amount of time, but thank you very much.
Yeah.
Veronica, talk me through how you reintegrated yourself into the house after the post-autumn eviction blowout.
So with that, clearly I had been exposed as being a liar. And at that point, the people that I had pissed off, it was like about like 5 people. So that was like a significant number at this point of people that I pissed off. And at that point, I think 5 out of the 6 comp wins were from like those within those 5 people. And so I kind of had to reestablish honesty and try to get my word back, because I felt like people weren't going to believe me if I said anything because I was painted as a liar. So instead, I blew up my own game. I screen shared with Bodhi. I screen shared with Anthony. I screen shared, there's one more, Yosef. I said my whole game and everything that happened to Roxy. I think even Elijah at one point. I said it to the VL. Anyone who would listen, I said my entire game to. Yosef knew my fucking like confessional, like password because I shared my entire DR. I was not leaving a single secret out there so that I could completely reset my game. And like,
So I'm gonna interrupt you because we only have a specific amount of time. But can you like fast forward for me how that helped you in the later weeks?
well, because I had done it mostly to the people that were not those 5 people. So in the later weeks, I feel like I helped in the narrative of kind of painting the huge targets onto, unfortunately, you, Zach, Tom, Sarah, and like in general, like the people that I had pissed off. I felt like I made other people more aware, and that created more of a shield for me to give me more time to integrate back into the house and gain trust on the other people that weren't just those 5. And eventually I also had the time to get past with those 5 and reestablish those connections and stuff.
I'm gonna move on to Roxy. Roxy, talk me through your HOH where you put up BC and Elijah as final noms.
Okay, so going into that week, I didn't actually want him head of household. I was in a position where I knew if I made any enemies, it wouldn't be the greatest. But thankfully, I went about this head of household. Like, the way I did made me, like, as little amount of, like, enemies as possible. So I wanted to nominate Elijah. I wanted him out because he was the only one in the entire game that I had zero connection with. He barely talked to me. Like, I tried my best to work with him, but like he just gave me nothing. So he wasn't someone I saw on my game. But I also wanted to nominate Yosef because he nominated me the previous week, and I thought it was time with a backdoor of BC. But I had a call with Elijah, and it made me reassess my entire week. For like the first time that week, I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't get Elijah out. He was like making good points because that's like what I've done.
Like 10 seconds.
I wanted to backdoor Yosef because it was like I thought the threat that needed to leave that week. But BC chose him for veto. That didn't work out, but I think it helped overall. I didn't like make any enemies, but I also made my position a bit more solidified in the game.
Okay. That's unfortunately all the time that I have with you. But thank you guys for all of your answers. I will be watching in on the rest of the night. Obviously, I have a little bit of a personal investment in who wins this game because I did have somewhat of pathetic final speech, seeing as one of the ones next to you was only a final nominee next to me. But best of luck to all of you. I look forward to hearing everything that you have to say. Congratulations on a fantastic game for all of you.
Thank you, Alyssa. Adios. Okay, so now Chloe is next, but she's just going to watch the finale and then cast her vote, so she won't be with us tonight. So after Chloe is BC, and he sent in a video, so I'm going to screen share the video to you guys, and I'll pause it because he asked questions during it, and so when a question is asked, I'll pause it, and I'll ask the question, whoever it's asked to can respond. So let me get on screen share real quick. Okay. Okay, can you all see my screen? Is that yes?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. All right, and let me know because the volume's kind of low on this, so.
It's your boy BC. So sorry that.
Can y'all hear that? I'm just gonna ask.
It was kind of laggy for me.
Okay. All right, well, I'll interpret if a question is asked.
Personally, really, you guys with some questions, but I'm currently at a stayover camp thing for college to try and immerse myself before I end up going in the fall. But enough about me. I just want to wish all 3 of you congratulations for getting there. You did something that 17 other people, couldn't do. If we're not counting Victor and Zach, of course. Anyways, I'm going to each ask, each one of you a question. Give the host a bit of time to pause. I have the questions written down here because I know I would have forgotten. So let's get into it. So for Zach, I really want to know, what was your end game strategy? I know it might have looked like on paper that you were just winning comps to get by, but I'm really curious why you chose to eliminate certain people like Elijah or Louise, maybe people that you easily could have beaten in the end, when you did, over, I guess, other people at those respective moments. So yeah, I'll give you a second.
Okay, Zach, did you hear the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, I know a lot of my endgame I won like a competition every week. I feel like not all of those were needed, but I'll explain like my strategy. So at final 5, first of all, I wanted Anthony out. Unfortunately, he won veto. So to me, I decided to take out Louise. I felt like Louise had the most, to me, influence in the game between her, Roxy, and Veronica, and I knew she was also good at comps, and I was worried that if Anthony won Final for HOH, that I would have to go against her and Anthony in the veto to determine like who is gonna get the final spot. And it was really worrying. I just felt like it made sense to me to take her out, somebody who was good at a lot of typing comps, endurance comps, etc. And then at Final 7, I contemplated backdooring Anthony, and I went back and forth until the last minute. But the reason why I didn't backdoor Anthony, I took out Elijah, was because I didn't anticipate how many comps I could win. And so I essentially wanted to keep Anthony in as another shield. Me, him, and Julia made an agreement to where we wouldn't go for each other that week. And I didn't want that HOH, but I'm competitive. And so I basically kept Anthony in because I wanted another shield, somebody else that I could maybe try to like shove in front of me as a target. Didn't work the best, but still was my strategy. And take out somebody who, in my opinion, could have been a person to make Final 3 that was close with Anthony and Elijah. And by taking on Elijah, had Julia or Anthony won the next week, I felt like I set myself up really well to not really be the number one in danger. So that was kind of my thought process. I felt like I had other covering me at points, but I took other people who I felt like was appropriate and tried to keep other targets in, and then it almost cost me, but it didn't. That's
Okay.
it.
Thank you. So we'll continue.
Pause. Okay. Next, we have Veronica. Do you think that your constant nominations or your nomination history in general should be a deterrent for you to not get any votes tonight, or should it show your resilience? I'd really like to know which one. So if so, for whichever, why do you believe that?
I think it really shows that I was resilient. There were people that could have been, I feel like, easier people to be against. Elijah at one point, no offense, I love Elijah, but he did say that he wasn't going to do anything and just kind of literally float to the end, or I've never made any such promise. And I think, been nominated so many times. Also, it's been the same 2 people that did 4 of them. The other 2, they didn't really want to. They were kind of forced to nominate me. Really, it was Zach and Anthony that did most of that for why I was nominated. Anthony had been going after me since week 1, so it's not really a shock. I betrayed Zach, so that wasn't really a shock. But I think it just proves that, like, I had made myself either socially close with other people and or to the perception that I didn't do much, so they wanted to keep me around, and also that it would just be better for their game specifically, no matter who it was. Some people obviously did vote to evict me just because they were closer to someone else, but ultimately I try to put myself into position that people wouldn't want me out. And I mean, I got called out by, like, I think it was like Final 8 as a person that was gonna make it to the end, and I did. and no one paid attention to it. And so it just shows that I positioned myself and kind of went where I needed to make sure that I went to the end.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll finish the video.
Okay. And lastly, for Roxy, what is one thing that you actively did yourself that no one else helped you for, and no one else told you what to do? So just a move that you did. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be small. Just anything that you did on your own volition without, you know, someone telling you what to do, I guess.
Okay, Roxy, go ahead.
Okay. So there were actually several points in time where I have done stuff that no one told me to do. Like literally all my votes were my own decision. Like even if I had bounced ideas of other people, like I had different players at each point in the game where I would have them as the main person to bounce ideas off, because I'm a person who works a lot better when I have someone to like okay, sorry. I'm like supposed to have a life right now, but anyway, basically different points of the game I had players that I would talk stuff out with and I would suggest stuff for them to do. But for the entire game, every single round, I voted the way I wanted to, I thought was best for me. Not just to get a certain player out, but to solidify my relationship with the players around me. So in the Anthony versus Autumn vote, I didn't save Anthony because I wanted Autumn out. I wanted to be part of like, used it not only as a way to get closer to Ashvika, who from that point on became my number one for like more than half of the game. I used that round to get closer to different players like Anthony. I just solidified my position and made myself harder and harder to target. So every vote was a step towards me getting to the end. Every vote, even like the Bodhi one, like I was one of the few who voted to save Bodhi because, as you know, I worried you would be like an extra vote for Sarah. So I used that to have a new relationship built with you. And as you know, we talked about stuff after that, and we solidified our relationship together, and we found a new opportunity to go forwards together. Didn't pan out, but that's basically every single round. No vote I did went to waste. No, even if I voted in the minority, I used that opportunity to develop my relationship with the other players going forward. For example, Zach, when Lisa versus Zach vote, I used that opportunity to develop a relationship with Zach, which has helped me out going forward. Like after Ashvika, Zach was my number one. After Zach, I had Louise. After Louise, I had Veronica. I just continuously built my relationship going forwards from the different rounds, even if I wasn't the one in like the spotlight who like could have seen, but I was always there, always making decisions that helped me in my game.
Okay, thank you, Roxy. So I'll just play the remainder of BC's video.
Okay. Whatever the result is tonight, y'all, best of luck. Still anybody's game. I think that it's really going to come down to these questions and answers. So, best of luck, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Okay, so that's the end of BC's question portion. So we're gonna switch up the order a little bit. And so Yosef and Ashvika will be going later on. So that means that Sarah G is next in line. So I'm going to go ahead and add Miss G to the call.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Hi,
Okay.
Sarah. Yeah.
It's
Curveball.
okay.
All
I was
right, go
typing up all
ahead.
the answers. It's okay. Okay, I'm starting my stopwatch. Okay, just congratulations to all of you. It's so extraordinary to make Final 3 in Big Brother Pokemon, especially in a season like this. I just want to thank the host for hosting all of us, giving me a second chance, and Lucas and Johnny for being my favorite people on the planet. With that being said, I don't really need a lot from you. I kind of just want to talk. So I'll start with Roxy. Roxy, I think that you were just more of a follower than a leader in this game. Both of your HOHs, you won based off luck and didn't work out in a way that I think benefited your game at all. With BC and Elijah's final noms and then Zach surviving at Final 4, that doesn't really give you the best chance to win in the Final 3, so that's where I'm at with you. Veronica, I adore you. I'm so happy that we got to meet in this game and that I got to surprise you as a person and you surprised me as a player. I said on Live Night that you were going to make finals and you proved me right about that. And there's something to be said about the fact that in 2 seasons you've made finals twice with 1 comp win. And I totally respect your social game. I think that you were underselling your game a lot, as you've mentioned, but I think that that perception has definitely become a reality among the jury. And that hurts you in a situation in a Final 3 with the person I think is most deserving to win, and that's Zach. Zach, I love and adore you so much. I'm so happy you're in the finals. You can bring it home for Lucas's Little Lions and for yourself. I know how badly you've wanted this win, how hard you've worked for it, and I just want you to take the rest of my time to clarify a few things for the jury and let them know how your game was different than mine and how you did more socially and strategically, but under the scenes, under the radar, and behind the scenes. So, all you.
Okay, so just like talk about how my game was different then.
Different than
Is
mine
what-
and how you were like, I feel like you were very under the radar and a lot of people don't see that. And that you weren't always the loudest person in a group of really loud and chaotic people.
Okay, yeah. So I feel like while we were always paired together, not even because we were close, but always just in the same alliances with people, I feel like my game was obviously different than yours because like once jury hit, once I stayed against Alyssa, I tried to take the back seat between us. I knew that you were gonna be a massive target in the game, and so I let you do all the public things. And I just sat down and I started forging my own relationships with people. I had a really strong relationship with Louise. With Roxy, she said I became her number 1. And I started expanding and actually having my own relationships and capitalizing on information I was told, such as like Anthony telling me that you were after me or that you went behind my back with the crystal. I used that to the best of my ability. I told Julia so Julia wouldn't feel as close to you. And I told her to target Yosef and Anthony. I used that information to get closer to Louise and Roxy and other people and just made myself more of a free agent in this game. And I realized that the most optimal strategy for me to go untargeted, which is why I went to Final 6 without being nominated by anyone but Ashvika, is because I was never the biggest target in the room or the loudest person. And that was part of my strategy coming in, because it's not hard. It's not easy coming in as the only winner in the season. So I did my best to just go down, and I would not make directly big moves until I won on comp, like taking out Ashvika. But I always try my best to make relationships and to be like, yeah, I'm not actually with Sarah. I'm willing to take her out during live night. And then throwing the second HOH in live night and being like, if Anthony wins, he'll take Sarah out of, like, who cares? Like, I feel like once jury hit, I really started playing like my own game. But for the pre-jury, I feel like I kept stumbling because I got in my own head a lot. And I feel like from start to end, I put my entire effort into this game. And I just made sure that until the very end, I wasn't the biggest target. And even then, I had Julia willing to veto me against her own self. And I built such strong relationships with people to help myself at every point in this game.
Yep, cool. So with that being said, I just want everyone in the jury to remember that Zach not only tied the comp record for this season, but for the series. But aside from being a physical competitor in this game, with only 3 HOHs, he controlled eviction after eviction, making sure the Bodhi flip went through and was 7-4, getting Ashvika evicted, getting me not to veto Yosef on live night by spamming me and freaking me out, continually making the correct decision on tie votes in the end games to assure the best Final Four scenario for himself to win the veto. He managed his threat level exceptionally. He worked with people who were louder than him, more chaotic than him, and who were trusted less than him. It gave him a ton of social agency, a strategic presence, and he didn't need to get loud so that when he was loud, people actually listened. Despite being the biggest threat going into this game and the only winner, he survived all the way into the final 3, built an army of people who wanted to protect him, like me, Roxy, and Julia. When we thought you were our shield, we were just your pawns. And with that being said, I'm proud to cast my vote for you and hopefully have you represent our season as the winner. That's it. Have a good night.
Okay, thanks, Sarah G. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add Elijah. He's the next member of the jury. Oh, okay, yeah, Roxy, you can have a minute to go pee. We'll take a minute, and then I'll add Elijah, and then we'll get started. So how's everyone doing?
Chilling. How are you, Nicholas?
Yeah, we're just vibing.
I'm good, thanks.
I'm a sleepy gal.
While we wait, what was everyone's favourite memory from this season? What was the funniest moment?
Ashvika winning HOH after the whole like Anthony thing. That, oh god, I cackled. I straight up cackled like a witch. I had the greatest day ever. It was so fucking funny.
I was the opposite of that. I don't know, my favorite moment was, I was gonna say my favorite moment was probably the whole live night interaction between Yosef and Sarah when I was just sitting there and they were like, veto me, and Sarah was like, I don't know. And Yosef was like, you want to go to the bathroom? We can get that. It was just so, especially since it's all in the minute. I don't know.
That was
Some-
Yeah. So,
Okay, welcome back, Roxy. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add Elijah, but we'll see. Hi, Elijah.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Hello.
Hello, you can go ahead.
El Segundo. All right, just wanted to start off by congratulating everyone on making the final 3. So I wanted to start off with asking Zach questions. So looking at it now, do you think if I were in Veronica's place, you think that like you would have a fair shot at winning? Because like going back onto what you said when we had our call before you had evicted me, you were kind of stating that you felt as though I wasn't like, or you felt as though you couldn't beat me in the end. Do you feel as though that is a true to this point right now still?
I felt like I had a shot at beating you, and I feel like I had a shot at beating a lot of people near the end just because of the perception that was the game. I do stand by my choice to evict you. No, obviously, it's not on a personal level, but on a game level, like I did get here. I did what I thought was best strategically, which was weaken Anthony in a way who, in my opinion, was my biggest competition, while also setting myself up to be safe and be able to have more, I guess, like direction in the rest of the game. So I feel like I'll stand by. I think like I had an underdog story, and I feel like I could have had a great chance against you, but I don't know what the jury thinks. It depends on Q&A, obviously. But I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
All right, moving on to Roxy. I guess kind of like my question is kind of like the same in BC's in a sense, like what game move kind of like separated you from the rest of the people in the finale, if that makes sense, and like why you think I should cast my vote for you to win if we had like never worked together, if that makes sense.
Wait, can you repeat that? My Discord crashed like as
Oh,
soon
no.
as you started talking.
So my question is kind of like BC's in a sense, like what game move, like kind of like separated you from the finalists in a sense, and like why do you think I should cast my vote for you if we didn't sort of like work together throughout the game?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked me that, just because it also links to something Sarah said in her thing. So the difference between me and the current jurors is that I never had a time where I was in trouble. The first time I was in genuine danger was in Final 5. And even then, like, I probably wasn't even. Round 1, I was never a target. I was never in any danger, and anything I did would not have made a difference. But I made sure that I solidified my position in the game. I made sure my social was spot on. For example, week 1, I knew there was something going on behind the scenes. I knew Sarah, I knew Zach, I knew Dom were being completely disconnected from me. I knew they had this whole entire alliance in game without me. So I made steps. I made social connections to make sure that was changed. Because when I went to Yosef, we had a chat, and I didn't come to the conclusion to vote for Autumn because of Shoaib. Shoaib wanted Anthony out in my DMs. He was like, "Get Anthony out, vote Anthony out." But I was talking with Yosef, and I came to the conclusion by myself. And I was talking with Ashvika, and I used this moment to forward myself into a position where I could have a say in the rounds, which is what happened. Because then on, when Ashvika won head of household, I was talking with her. We were talking strategically, and I was always, she can verify that I was aware of what was supposed to go down. I knew the correct strategic move going forward, and I had a solid social connection with multiple players, and I just kept on going. There was not a single time where I had a down point. There was not a single time I was exposed for anything. When Sarah G came to me and said, Roxy, I hear that you want me out. I said, yes, I want you out because this and this that happened in the start of the game. And I used that to propel forward a relationship between her, which is why I didn't backdoor her in my head of household week. I had a connection with her that I just really established. I wasn't able to backdoor her. And I knew that she was going to be a target in the live night, and I was okay with that because I thought and I wanted her and Yosef to go at each other, which was great for me. I didn't backdoor Zach like Ashvika said I should, because again, he was my number one information. Like, he told me everything that was happening on that side, all the alliances everybody kept on making, and I was using that information to solidify my position in the game going forward. And I wanted to backdoor Yosef. I don't know why BC chose Yosef for the POV. it's a move that it's something that didn't really make sense. So the only reason why my head of household week didn't go exactly as I had wanted was because of someone doing something that I didn't understand. The only thing I would have done different, honestly, was telling BC that I wanted Yosef out. But everybody was being so like everybody leaked everything. So I didn't know whether or not to like tell him straight up that. But as I was saying, I was the only one in the finale that was never a target. I never needed a head of household. I never needed a POV to stay safe. I stayed safe because of my social and my strategy. I didn't win because I didn't get here because of luck. I was going to be in the end, no matter what, no matter if I had just followed Sarah. If I was going to be a follower in this game, I would have stuck with Sarah G. I was stuck with Zachary. I would have stuck with Dom, and I would have sat around and let them do all the moves and let myself go to the end. But I did not. I established myself new relationship. I didn't follow them. I found myself Ashvika. I found myself Yosef. And when I noticed that Yosef was also drifting off, had his own game, I still had Ashvika. No matter what anybody did in any of the weeks, I was still safe. I did not sit around and let myself just follow around. I made myself new connections to solidify myself in each portion of the game, which is why I was never targeted. I was never in any danger, and I was always making Final Four.
All right, thank you. And then moving on to Veronica last. Hi, Mommy, I love you. All right, so what was your biggest game move, like as a like solo player? Like, what was your own like individualized move that you believe led you to get you to the finals?
I don't think I can really tie one thing specifically. I never won a comp, but I think in general, my whole game wasn't one move. It was a series of thinking of every eviction on its own, weighing the pros and cons to keeping people of my game. There are several times where people wanted me to do a certain way, and I was like, no, that doesn't make sense for me. I'm going to do it this way, and I'm going to make it work, whether it's voting in the minority or not voting in the minority. And exposing my own game is what honestly gave me the control back into what I wanted to do and kind of establish my own narrative. And in that narrative, I needed to kind of go under the radar, and I basically I had to wiggle my way in, so it wasn't like one move. I had to do a lot of work to get good with people, and also like it's technically, I guess, not by myself, but me personally, I always made sure I had like a target to say a name to make other people feel comfortable. So although I didn't win anything, I did place a lot of doubts in other people's minds as to why other people shouldn't be trusted, or that they were slimy snakes and certain
Do you have
things.
any like specific examples of that? Like, do you have any specific examples? Like, can you name a specific week or two?
For like what part of
For
what
like name a specific week like that you didn't win a competition, but you happened to like fly under the radar and get someone else out that you felt as though was like slimy and needed to get out of the house.
Okay, let me look at the chart. So honestly, I thought everyone was slimy. I have said that to everyone. I said every single person in this entire house is slimy.
I love
so
everyone.
Like, I don't know, for example, I would say like with like the Bodhi vote, I didn't think he was personally good for my game. At that point, we did patch things up, and I know he wanted to like work with me. I had alliance members wanting to keep him, but I used that moment to get someone I didn't no longer trusted in this game, and also kind of used it as like a bonding moment for some of the other people that also voted him out, because I felt like I could be like, oh yeah, he was so slimy, I needed him out, like bye Bodhi, F Bodhi, like using stuff like that to kind of just reaffirm connections with other people. And also, like, even with the Yosef, though, I was technically with him beforehand, but I felt like he wasn't a good ally to me. And so I flipped on him. People expected me to kind of vote out Anthony no matter what. And even to the end, people expected me to kind of vote out Anthony. I would have voted out Zach over Anthony dead ass, like within a heartbeat. There was no chance of me like actually keeping Zach if I had the option to. I was gonna use that kind of shield of me
Love Zach,
hating
bro.
him. I love Zach. Like, I'm lesbian for him, but the thing is, like, for the game, I didn't want him in, and like, so I just used like shields. I made my own shields of, at first, Anthony had a target to always throw his name out. Then it was Sarah. I even told Sarah to her face. I think I ran into Alyssa for like 30 minutes that Sarah was living under my skin rent free, and then it went back to Anthony once me and Sarah were good again. I always had someone to just kind of point the figure, and I honestly didn't give a fuck about Anthony. Like, whatever. But the thing is, like, it was such a good shield, and like such a, like, people always thought that they knew what I was doing because I was just so dramatic about it, when it was just a lot of, I guess, social moves and to kind of change the perspective. Like, I have won no comps. I can't tie something specific, but like, I will always attest to the fact that when people were HOH, I would never try to control it, but I would always make the suggestions as to what I wanted. And even one time, Yosef got mad at me because I was pushing for something. Ashvika was to, I think, put up Sarah and Zach initial noms instead of Alyssa, because I wanted to keep Alyssa as safe as I could at that moment. And like, Yosef was getting mad because he even said at one point that like he felt like all the suggestions I was doing wasn't really great for their games, and they were getting a lot of the heat for stuff I was also suggesting, and it's exactly what I wanted.
Sorry
All
to cut you guys
Thank
off,
you.
but
No
I'll let you
worries.
at
I
the
think
end
we
of
got
your
my
time, so
Thank you. Bye.
bye. Okay, so now we're going to move on. Julia is next. I'm gonna go ahead and add her.
You.
Hi,
Bye.
Julia.
Hi, I'm cooking. Sorry.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have
So
to.
we're gonna have to exit out of the YouTube stream.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you're good. Thanks.
Okay. So I have the same question for everybody, and congrats to you guys all for being here. I mean, obviously, I hit all my goals, which I've talked to my goals about some of you. So I'm happy. I'm glad that you guys made it there. I think you all played, the game that you clearly wanted to play because you made it here. So my question to everybody, just to spice things up a little bit, is gonna be, what do you think is the worst move that that you think the people on the final three made? So like, Veronica, what's the worst move you think Zach made and Roxy made? And if you really can't come up with anything, the best move you think they made? I guess we can start with Roxy.
Hello. Gonna say that cooking and filming, it's a meaty thing. Okay, I've been like pulling carrots to represent enemies, but anyways. So I think for first move I think he made was probably voting, like, nominating, like, I don't know, Louise. I think the reason why I felt in danger in Final 5 was because I thought that it was better for him to vote me out, just because like, there's a portion of the game like that we're associated with that I know we're going to be arguing against each other, and we both are social players. We both like don't really have a target on our backs, although I didn't like need competition wins, but I think he was. I feel like he should have like voted me out just because I think he would have been able to have a much clearer goal to win. Not that Louise didn't like play a great fucking game. Like, I feel like our games were a lot different, so he had a lot more to argue against.
What about Veronica? Yeah.
So, I think me personally, I think that going after Anthony so hard, like, wasn't the greatest, just because it made players feel like they can't go to her for to suggest other moves because they like, oh, okay, so Veronica wanted Anthony out, so I can't really say vote this person out. This is just like from my personal point of view because I worked with her for a bit and I wanted to work with her a lot more, but I knew at the point in the game like I didn't want Anthony out. This is the same for, like, for you. So her constantly wanting Anthony out just made it harder for me to be more flexible around her, to work with her in like strategically.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, Veronica, same question.
Okay. I think worst moves. Okay, so honestly, I didn't think Roxy had a great HOH. I think her HOH noms were pretty bad. I see where she thinks that it was good for her, but in general, she probably could have built more trust and I guess like more of a flashy move, more of a kind of establishing bonds for like the bigger players or one side of the bigger players. If she had done something a little bit more dramatic, I do think she tried to play it safe and it didn't really sit well with like some people. I know some people were like, oh, well, this was just a dumb HOH, or why is she doing this? That kind of like mentality, where I also agreed, but also I was safe at the moment, so I didn't really care at the end of the day because I wanted everyone gone. So I would have picked different people in general, and not have, like done Elijah or even BC at that point. But because I think she did BC. Yeah. And so I don't know. I think she could have made a bigger move when given the opportunity to do that. And then for Zach, I don't know if it's just, me being like biased and like big headed or whatever, because I could be, a fucking dumbass. But I think keeping me twice honestly was really fucking dumb when like I think the other people had also just as much of a chance of winning comps, aka like 0 in against him. And also like at that point, all of us probably would have voted him out at some point. So it just, honestly, to me, it just seemed silly. I honestly was surprised every single time when he did keep me. I was just like, all right, work. All right, great. It was working for me, but I honestly didn't get it.
Okay. And then last up, Zach, as quick as you can.
Okay, yeah. I think with Roxy, I would say I kind of want to follow what Veronica said. I think it would be kind of her HOH reign. I get that she didn't want it, so it was kind of unwilling. But I feel like her objective, she kind of got what she wanted. But I felt like while it did keep her safe, I feel like with the whole perceptions in the game, she needed to do something. And of course, she couldn't account for BC picking Yosef or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like she could have still got something. Kind of she intended on backdooring Anthony that round. Had Yosef used the veto, she could have still gotten Yosef to potentially veto Elijah because they were close. So I feel like HOH kind of didn't help Roxy in any way. With Veronica, I feel like her biggest issue or flaw was her willingness to like not throw, but I'm gonna say throw for Shoaib and Bodhi. I feel like that's what kind of hurt her game in the first place because it got her into that big mess, got her exposed. And she got very lucky with the next HOHs. If Ashby could then win the next 2 and you, like if me or Sarah got HOH, she was done. But I feel like what tied in with that forced her to push what she said is a strategy of saying, "Oh, I'm targeting Anthony or whatever, or I'm targeting Zach." And that's kind of what I think jeopardized a lot of her endgame and why she was nominated so much was because she was so vocal about her opinions. And while it never got her evicted, I feel like from like saying that she was willing to throw for Shoaib and doing what kind of he wanted and getting herself in that dangerous spot, it put her into like treacherous
Yeah.
areas, and that kind of like set her on a wobbly path instead of more concise. That's what I would say.
Okay. Awesome. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you, Julia. Adios. Okay, so next up is Louise. You can go ahead and add her. Well, hi, Louise.
Hello.
All right, go ahead.
Oops. I just messed everything up. But as long as you can hear me, that's fine. Hello, first of all. He. I just wanted oh my god, I feel like everything's going wrong. Okay, so I'm just gonna get to it. As long as you can hear me, that's fine. You don't need to see me. I just wanted to say, I'm gonna keep this really short. I want kind of concise answers. If that's okay, I don't want like long rambling. I just would like to know the points. So I'll start with Zach. And I think what a lot of people have been saying is really true, and that you are a really, really good player. And I'm excited to see what your response to this is because of that. And I want to know, we just had Julie's question of what was each other's worst moves, but Zach, I want to know what your worst move was, and more so, how did you overcome that and get to where you are now without the help and need for competitions?
Okay. That sounds like two different questions a little bit. I would say my worst, not move, but my worst thing that I did was how I started the game. I feel like being told by numerous people that you're not gonna make it past live night, you're a great threat, you're a great shield. I just like got in my head a lot, and that's what made me like wobble and start isolating myself a lot in this game. So I guess not believing in myself early on kind of is what hurt my game really early, and that caused me to stumble, which is why I got nominated twice really early on. And I recovered by that by starting to realize that if I just am more quiet, if I'm more reasonable, and I start establishing connections with a lot of other people, that I can make it, and that's what happened. And with what you said with the comps, I don't want to ramble. I did need to win Final Four, obviously. I probably need to win Final Five, Final Six. I don't know how honestly we were about Anthony potentially vetoing me. I know Julia said she was gonna veto me if she won. I had the social connections established and helped myself as well. Sure, when that comp secured it 100%, but I feel like I didn't need all the comp wins I needed. I feel like Final 5 and 4 were my most critical, and I feel like that was just because no one wanted to go to the end with me, and that wasn't something I did wrong. I just think like it got to the point where everyone's like, "Kill him, please." So yeah, that's my answer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Veronica, so we didn't speak a lot, and I'm not going to put that down to you. I think it was both a thing, different time zones, it can get difficult. I understand that. I still want to give you as much of a chance as I'm giving anyone else. So my question to you is, you said that by Final 8, you had already been called out by people as being almost a lock for Final 3. And what I kind of wanted to ask you is, as someone who also knew that they were a lock, not for final 3, but towards near the end of the end game, final 5, obviously. I felt that I had a decent shot to make it there, but my worry was that the certainty that I was going to make it there was because people thought they could beat me. And what I kind of wanted to ask you is, did you feel the same? Did you think you was a lock because you thought people could beat you? And if so, and even if not, what was your game plan to try and get to the end in a position where you felt like you could win?
So well, I knew I was gonna make it to the end because yes, so certain people thought that they could beat me. Certain people thought it was the most even chance and not necessarily that they could beat me. Because I feel like you, me, and Roxy all had kind of the idea like, okay, for our best chance, it has to be with each other because everyone else has been saying, oh, Zach's been playing this great game. Where, like, to be honest, for most of it, like, I feel like he gets a lot of credit for things that, like, not necessarily it was just him. It was a lot of group effort. So his allies also deserve the credit, even though Sarah is trying to push it out all on him. I think that, like, yes, it was like some of it was like, okay, so your best chance, and not necessarily that they could just like downright beat me, but also I think it was that not necessarily that could they beat me, it was they didn't want this other person more, not necessarily they just didn't want, like, they didn't want me. Because I think that there are some other people that could be considered more of the floater, where like I like to say free agents because no one was a floater in this game, to be honest. Because we were all fucking crackheads. But there was people that I think had the stigma more than me. I think my thing that really like got people to the end was my inability to win comps, and I did play up that fact because I can't fucking win comps. You can't hide that shit. So I had to own it and work with it and use it to my advantage. And I guess that's mainly it. I would hope that also the jury would be more open to not necessarily just be so closed-minded. So I feel like anyone could have, done a speech and like been a fair equal shot. So the fact that I just made it, it didn't mean I was more of a floater or that I could be rolled over more than other people. It was just that they thought I was better for their game and I needed to be that person. And I made that person. And people said that like Anthony, me targeting him was like a bad idea, but it's why you kept me. So
I think it was great. I love that. And thank you, because I did want to hear more specifically from you, because I didn't see you in action as more than other people did. So, and moving on to, of course, Roxy. And I love you, Roxy. You know that we worked very closely for a very long time. What I kind of want to say to you and what I want to ask you is that a lot of people don't necessarily respect the game you played and think that your perception of the players in the house was off. And I just want to hear from your point of view, who, first of all, do you think would have been your ideal winning Final 3 scenario? And who do you think, out of everyone, whether they're sitting next to you or not, was the actual best player in the game?
Okay, so perception, that was like my biggest book. Not that other players had like fundamentally a better game than me. It's just that the perception of them was a lot bigger. For example, like Sarah had some flaws in her game. Everybody's like, oh, if she survives, she'll win. If she makes the end, she's gonna win. Just that very fact that players were saying she will win made her a bigger threat than she might have been if you just looked at her game as like, as it is. No perception, like for me, it didn't seem like that big of a threat. But I was very present in the game. I was always very aware. Ideal Final 3. This wasn't exactly somebody like at Final 3 I worked together with, which was like Veronica and Julia. Just because I think my social game was a lot better than Julia, and I thought I had a bigger chance than her at the end to argue my case. And Veronica as well. I thought she also deserved like a shot to say her thing. Instead of Veronica, it was also you who I wouldn't mind at the end, but I know that had like game that would argue against me, so that might have like I thought that at least Anthony would take you to over me. That was a big possibility. Another scenario was Anthony. Like I know they had a lot of influence in the game. Like he used other players at like the Shield, and then once they were gone, he was like the bigger player. But he also had a lot of frustrating moments in his game that I thought I could argue against because one moment, like the one week, I guess people could say that they were frustrated in me. It was my head of household week. But note that that week I had discussed it. Like I had decided already. I was just like thinking about the composition. I had discussed it with Zachary. So he was like in agreement with me on who I should nominate that week and the way I went about it. So it wasn't just that everybody was like, "Oh, why did you do this?" It just made sense for me for my game at that point in time, especially because as I said before, like I had a connection with Sarah that I wanted to use, especially in Live Night, and I had a connection with Zach that I was using at that point in time. It didn't make sense for me to nominate anybody else but the players that I did. I didn't want to nominate BC just because I knew I had a chance with him going forward, and I also knew that he would be like, a middle player shield in a way. But I wanted Joseph out that round. It would have opened up a deeper relationship with Ashvika because I knew that Ashvika was somebody I was working closely with, but I drifted apart because of Yosef. She was closer to Yosef than she was to me. Basically, I think people are just looking a lot of the stuff that I've done in this game. And there's a lot of key players who have actually recognized that did a lot in the game, and I was very involved. I worked very closely with Ashvika in the start, and I worked very closely with Zach in the middle. I worked very closely with you. I had a lot of impact as well from the shadows. Can't say that I'm a floater. I just had main allies that I surrounded myself with, and I built my relationship. Like I wasn't just sitting around doing nothing, and especially know that I've been working closely with you. The perception was what was the biggest thing in my way. The perception that was created by the actual players that, oh, this person is a threat to win, so they will win. That's their statement. Them saying that, them thinking that is what made them a bigger threat to begin with. I didn't need a single head of household. I didn't need a POV or a head of household in any point in my game to stay alive. I didn't need a luck comp. I didn't need to have that for me. I was safe no matter what, no matter who won head of household in any of the weeks. I was safe.
Okay. So who was the one person that you would say is the best player?
Yeah.
Just at one name.
I think Yosef presented this game the most. It was messy, but his game. Okay, she's gone.
Okay.
Right, your thing went dark, so I thought you and okay. So yeah, I think Steph, because he represented Revival the best. He was like the crackhead king, like legit, and he had a lot of influence in the game. And
Okay. Well, thank you, and good luck, and goodbye.
Bye, Louise. Adios. Okay, so now we're gonna hear from Anthony. Hi, Anthony. Okay, go ahead.
So show my difference with Alyssa or
From Sarah D.
Sarah?
From Sarah.
Okay. So I feel like I was starting to build social connections from day one by myself, but not really game based because I'm just really bad at talking game. Everyone knows that. But once Alyssa like and I were final noms, everyone like Sarah wanted Alyssa to stay. Sarah like literally told everyone, I want Alyssa to stay. And so I used that to my benefit. I was like, Sarah wants Alyssa to stay. Like, she didn't even consider me, like, fuck her. But I went to Sarah and I was like, hey girl, I'm telling everyone this. If you hear this, it's just me, like, pretending. But I was telling everyone, like, fuck Sarah. Like, she wants me out. And then going forward, after I wanted Joey, you obviously went on screen share and you told me all this information Sarah was doing. And so I was like, okay, this is perfect opportunity. I was genuinely upset. I would not emotionally manipulate. But I definitely played it up and I used that to help myself. I told Julia, so Julia lost a lot of her trust with Sarah, and I used that information to distance myself from Sarah. And I was like, I'll go after her. And I genuinely lost trust in her. Like, props to you. Like, I wanted her gone. But like that made me comfortable enough to make a deal with you to be like, Anthony, I'm not putting you up. I wasn't gonna put you up that week. Even though Sarah wanted me to renom you, if you weren't in the veto and you didn't win, it was used, I wasn't renominating you. And it allowed me to become more free, separate myself. And that's like, you also didn't put me up because you knew that I would get Sarah if it was needed, and I probably would have.
Sweet.
So I
I'm
feel
sorry, I
like
have to cut you off. I just have like one question
Okay,
for all three of you that I want to get
Yeah, no.
answered.
Yeah, it's
We're gonna
fine.
go to Roxy next. This question's gonna be for all three of you though. I want to know just name names. I need to hear your top 3 allies in the beginning of the game, in the middle of the game, and then the jury, and I kind of want to see how it's progressed. Just say names. I don't need too much of an explanation.
One was Yosef, like at the start. One was Yosef. 2 was Billy was close with Billy. The rest doesn't really matter. Number 2, like week 2, it was Shvika. Actually, no, after the end, like after your
Yeah, I'd say
Gordon.
I'd say the middle of the game. The middle of the game would be the week I used Crystal. That would be like the middle. So like tell me like your top 3 allies, like that kind of week.
Okay. Was like my number 1 for most of the middle. Then it was Louise. Then it was Mika near to the end. You were yes, it was like Zach, Louise, and then Veronica, and then you, and then it went to Louise, Veronica, Zach, and then you, and then it went to Veronica.
Sweet, awesome. I think I got the gist. I'm gonna go on to Veronica next. You're muted. You're muted.
I'm an idiot. Anyways, so at the very, very, very beginning, I would say the people that I trusted the most was obviously Shoaib. I wanted to work with Dom the most, and then also Bodhi. Those were my top 3. And then I would say towards more like kind of more after that, obviously it was Ashvika, Julia, and then I would probably say Yosef to an extent towards more your like Crystal week. At that point, it was definitely more Julia, Roxy, and then a little bit past that, I guess you could have added Louise a little bit, but I didn't really would say I had that many that much trust in a lot of people because I learned my lesson from Shoaib, so I wasn't going to throw my game for anyone else.
I respect that. Awesome. Okay, Zach, your turn.
All right, so early game, it would have to be like Dom, obviously, Alyssa, and I think BC. I was really close with BC. And so shifting towards the middle of the game, towards your Crystal, I would say my closest allies were Julia, Sarah, a little, it was flaky with her, but I knew she had my back. So Julia, Sarah, and I would say Roxy. And then towards the end of the game, not a lot of options here, but I would say near the end, Julia for sure, and then Roxy would be my. I don't have a third. I feel like everyone hated me.
Yeah, that is fair. Okay, yeah, I like those. Oh, I have more time than I thought. Veronica, I just want to say that I really love you as a person, and I think you also had a really great game. I think you had really solid game awareness, and just even like we didn't talk for like 10 weeks straight, like I still knew like you were doing shit. And I really enjoyed how you were one of the few people in the house that I knew would just always tell me straight up when things were happening, or like you would evict me. Like I respect that. I have another question for you. I want to ask, was Julia, Roxy, and you ever like an actual alliance, or just like was that a thing or not?
So we had a chat outside of the server that I guess it was like a party in the USA plus like Australia or something. So technically we did have a chat and we were like working together. But it was never like, I think like an established final three. For like a lot of the chats that I had with like one other person or like two other people, I might be wrong, but I don't think I ever uttered the words final three because I didn't want to make promises.
Yeah, I check that.
So
Awesome. Can I also ask, do you think was the most like what vote do you think you had the most influence in? Because I know you didn't win any comps, but obviously you voted pretty much a lot. So which eviction vote do you think you had the most influence?
I think it was the Bodhi vote, to be honest, because I think that was the vote. It was either that vote or it was a different vote. It might have been the BC vote. Is either BC vote or the Bodhi vote that I literally had two people say, whatever you do, I'll do. And so I made the decision at that point to be like, I want Bodhi out or I want BC out at this point. And then they kind of just were like, yeah, okay. Or I would pretend that the votes were already there and be like, okay, no, everyone's saying this. No, like everyone's saying this. And then when people cross-checked, since I was saying it to different people, they all assumed that the majority was on one person already.
Okay. Wait, Julia, sorry, I'm just reading the jury sheet. Do I have to redo some of my questions because something happened?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
There is an issue, but it's fine.
Okay. They were yelling at me. I was like, I didn't do anything. Okay. I don't know how much time I have though.
So you have like less than a minute, but go ahead.
Roxy, I also want to say that I love you as a person. I think you also played a really solid Under the Radar game. The problem with playing Under the Radar games like Veronica and Roxy is that you do have to get out the threats before you get to the finale. And I think that is the biggest glaring issue. And I don't think either of you played bad games. I think you both played great games with what you were given. But the fact of the matter is that you guys ran out of time to get Zach or me out. And I think that's really what had happened. Zach, I think you played a great game. And overall, all three of you should be really proud. I'm very happy. But good luck with the rest of the questioning.
Okay, thank you to Anthony. So, last up, last but not least, Yosef and Ashvika have decided that they want to pool their time, and they're both going to ask questions at the same time. So they will be our last two jurors. I'm going to go ahead and add them now. Hello. Hi, Ashvika.
Oh.
Okay. All right, and Yosef's here.
Hello.
Hi, guys. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, we just wanted to say congrats to all three of you for making it here. It's a really big accomplishment that neither of us could do, so we are very proud of you. And we're just going to start with the questions. So Yosef has one first.
Okay, Roxy, can you get on camera for this or no? It's fun and flirty. I promise.
Just
Okay.
if somebody works in or something. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Everyone put your hands up. And now close your eyes, okay? Okay. I'm going to say a juror's name. And then after I say their name, you're going to put your hand down if you think you don't have their vote. You keep them up if you think you have their vote. Okay? Okay. So first up, Alyssa. Oh, Roxy did. Okay, keep your eyes closed. Okay, Roxy, close your eyes. And
Computer crashed. My Discord keeps on fucking crashing.
Okay, hands up or down, Roxy, for Alyssa. Okay. Everyone keep your eyes closed. Okay, next up. Here we go for Chloe. Okay, next up we have BC. Okay, next up we have Ashvika. Next up we have me. Okay, next up we have Sarah G. Okay, after that we have Elijah. Okay, after that we have Julia. Okay, after Julia we have Louise. Okay, now we finally have Anthony. Okay, funsies. Okay.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Okay. So we're just gonna address Veronica first. So Veronica, love you as a person. In the game, especially towards the end, not your biggest fan. I think in I think it was like going through the goodbye messages and then like seeing like what you had done like towards the end that just kind of left me feeling like, oh, like we weren't on the same page about things. I think like when you called me arrogant in my goodbye message and you said that you were mad at things that Joseph and I did, arrogant for thinking I'd stay over you. And then said you were mad at things that Joseph and I did that just kind of like left me feeling like, ugh. I think like for me, we weren't the closest until like after the Shoaib thing. And I perceived our relation to be just kind of like transactional. So like I'll keep you off the block when I can, you keep me off the block when you can, but we play our own games. I felt like in your goodbye message, it just kind of seemed like you expected Joseph and I to do more. Like I feel like if I hadn't won HOH that week, we both would have been in danger. And you voted out Bodhi, which was good for your game, which wasn't great for mine. But then you were upset at us for wanting to keep Anthony, which was better for our game, but not for yours. And I did feel like we told you a lot more about our game than you did in return. Like a lot more, for sure, because you didn't tell us shit. But I guess what I'm just wondering is how you saw your relationship with us and how that benefited you and when it stopped benefiting you and when you wanted us out.
All right, so yeah, so I saw, like, I agree, definitely. After the Shoaib vote, that's when we kind of actually worked together. I think I even like said in my like video DRs that I wanted you out at one point, but Shoaib was gonna be angry at me, so I was like, ugh. So once like that happened, like it was kind of like we were forced into working together, and so at that point, I did have somewhat loyalty to you, and I didn't necessarily want you out, but I definitely did want Joseph out because at no point did it ever feel like even like a remote, like I guess good alliance. Like yes, we were working to each other for a certain extent, but like he never wanted to be associated with me. He would yell at me to not expose his game. He would kind of demean me sometimes. Granted, I didn't tell him anything because I didn't trust him at that point. I knew I was expendable to him. And in general, like I didn't even necessarily get mad at it because it was so bad for my game, but I also thought in general it was just like a dumb move and other people were going to get mad at him too, which did end up happening. So a lot of my, I guess like my issues, it came more from Joseph. I straight up told people that I wouldn't evict you if you were ever against like certain people. And so I definitely think as like safety wise, I was more willing to like be as loyal as I can to you. And I felt like there was a lot of like you two being a duo thing that like obviously I wasn't included on. So I always kept that distance that I never was going to fully commit. And so obviously when keeping Anthony was a better move for y'all, I already had backup options of people that I wanted to go to at that point. So it wasn't like my game was solely relying on 2 people. It was having kind of like literally, I think at that point I was like straight up going into calls with Sarah and Zach being like, I just can't stand Yosef, the stupid move, this. And then like also I had Roxy and Julia as people that wanted to like work with me and go further with me. So I had options. So it wasn't necessarily like, oh, just because y'all didn't benefit me anymore. It's like I didn't think y'all valued me, so I wasn't going to stock everything into y'all.
Okay. Yep. Yosef.
Okay, period. Okay. I guess like I understand everything with you saying I played really messy, because I do agree. I think I played messy. I guess my thing is, I don't know, I feel like our communication was very bad, because I know I didn't make you feel like it at all, especially when I asked you to be a pawn. I think that just killed our relationship, I guess. I just wish we had talked about it and communicated, because you told me after that whole thing you felt fine with me when I asked you my HOH week and everything. But then I heard from Sarah G that you were talking major shit about me, and I thought that it was because you're playing it up, but then I realized eventually you actually just hated my ass. And I don't know, I just wish that like you had like talked to me about everything, because you and Ashvika generally were my top 2 allies at a point in the game, and that's why I feel comfortable enough to ask you about the pawn thing. It wasn't because I like felt comfortable with you going home, and I guess that is something to be expected when you nominate someone as a pawn. But like, yeah, yada yada yada. I don't want to go much into it, but I guess what I have to ask you is like, why should I vote you over someone like Zach when I feel like I do feel like you played a great game. You strategically maneuvered yourself to be in a good position after the Shoaib exposure party, and it kind of like was a blessing in disguise, and like it wasn't like that big of a downfall for your game because you played from it. But I feel like with Zach, he managed to. Everyone thought he was a big threat to win, and that he would eventually be taken out, but he managed to get to the point in Live Night where no one nominated him, and then after that, he had to rely on comps. Yeah, but I feel like even though he had to rely on comps in the end game, he managed to make everyone think that he would be really comfortable leaving him in the game. Not everyone, I guess. Like we had like Yumi and Ashvika like had like our own thoughts. I was like a little bit like drifted from that in the beginning, but like as time went on, I was like, okay, yeah, like leave him gone. But why should I vote for your game over someone like Zach when I feel like Zach has been seen as a player to win this entire time, and he's still here for some reason?
Well, I think a lot of the things that was, again, like kind of like what Roxy said before as to why he got that, like, I guess, like clout was more based on like past games. And it wasn't like he was doing anything at all. Like, I think at even one point he was like, I don't know why I'm being targeted. I haven't won anything yet, or anything like he made some comment like that, where it's like, I think a lot of the power that people, or like the power that Zach has in like this name was literally just handed to him for no reason. So that's why he's like this big player. And so I think especially like, yes, he had to like, I don't know. I feel like if you have to win comps at the end, then that just means that like, obviously your social wasn't that great, or your threat level you didn't manage well. And so there was no way for him to get to the end unless he had to like take humself. There was no other like, I guess, boost. It wasn't as round. Netflix was solid. But I don't think it was as well rounded as like people are trying to paint. I think people are just kind of handing it to him at this point. It's not like he necessarily earned it, because he would have and should have died. I guess because he didn't, it is like, you know, good on him. Like he obviously does deserve to be at the end if he is here, and that can be said for everyone. But I think that I should at least get some votes, because I definitely had people under the assumption that I wanted them to have. They had the information that I wanted them to give, and I never said anything that I didn't care if it got back to. So like with you and like shit talking you to Sarah, I made like a couple comments to Julia being like, oh, Yosef's yelling me to do this. I'm like kind of annoyed because it was very pushy. But like, and I didn't care if it like got back to you because I told you straight to your face. Everything that other people, like, I said it to your face. There was no hiding and lying. I said everything to everyone to their face, and there was no hiding like behind anything. And so I don't know. I think I played exactly what I wanted people to know, and I don't think I was ever really blindsided in comparison to Zach, where people straight up lied to his face, where I ended up hearing information one way or another.
Yay, good answer.
Period. Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. Okay, so we move on to Roxy now. Hello, Roxy. Okay, so I wanted to say I missed having talks with you at like 5 a.m. about like Chardonnay, and I first wanted to say I am so sorry for that one night. I keep hearing that you felt really bad after I told you about your wing conditioning and everything. I just want to give you like some like awareness of like who I thought you could beat against, and I'm so sorry. Like I think all of you know how like passionate I can get sometimes, and like loud and how talk fast I get. So I'm so sorry if it got interpreted as like some kind of way. I was originally going to ask you why I think she went over Zach, but I feel like a better question to ask you is if people don't want to vote for someone like Zach, why should we vote you to win over Veronica? And how do you feel like your game was better than Veronica's game if we're willing to look in another direction and we don't want to vote for Zach to win?
I think my game is actually more unique than people give me credit for. I was the only person in this entire game that wasn't like any danger of leaving at any point in the game. It didn't have a moment where people exposed me. Everything I said, I've been honest about. Like the only time I've lied to anybody was Zach nearing the end that I would take him to whatever. But Sarah G had to make up lies that she actually made up to throw me under the bus to you. Like she had to make shit up about me to make me seem more unlikable. Then you were able to come straight up to me and say, hey, this is what I heard. And I was like, no, I never said this. This is from round 1. I was never unlikable. I was never illogical. I was never in any danger. I didn't need to fight my way out. Like the only thing I had to fight against is perception. Perception was given to players, and that I was what you were saying was that's why it like really affected me. I knew I had an uphill battle to get here, and not to get here, but like to state my case, to even have a chance for people to hear me. I knew I had such an uphill battle, and the reason why I got so upset when you said that is because I thought it was so unfair, because I have played so hard from the start. I was never targeted. I was never nothing at all. I didn't have to expose my game. I didn't have to throw my game out. I didn't have to like scramble. I wasn't anything like that from the very start. Only flaw in my game is perception. Not that I sat around and didn't make moves. I made moves in my own way. I had very deep strategical connection with Ashvika, and you know from the start I was very aware. I told you straight up in the start that I have a very keen awareness when players are not straight up with me, when players listen to me, and that's exactly what I played off. When I felt like when like Zach were distant to me, and their social was not great from the very start. Mine was from day one. My social was strong from round 1, round 2, round 3, every round until the very end. My social did not falter for a single moment, and you can't say that about any of the players in the finale. Not even Veronica, not even Zach. I had the most solid social game from day one, where no one ever thought that to me out because I was annoying. I wasn't literally. Everyone's like, "Oh, this person's so annoying. Why are they doing that? Why are they saying that? Why are they doing that?" No one said that about me. Maybe in my the head of household made sense to me, and the only regrets or stuff that people can say about it is retrospectively. Like now that things have happened, then we can say, "Oh, this was not as good," because we can't tell the future, right?
Okay,
So it was
I think we're good. But that was a good answer.
I respect your passion so much, Roxy. Like, I
I
just want to say,
know.
I love your dedication, and I love that you're trying so hard to like prove yourself as a player. I do think you played a good game. I think that you're like trying to show yourself in game, and like I just know like I love you, and like no matter what, like good job, like right now.
Okay.
Okay, go.
Okay.
my wine.
Zach, I love you. But hello. Okay, so I have a yes or no question first. So if I had helped you with when you nominated me, if I had helped you with veto, but we had still lost and Joseph came off, would you have put up somebody that I would stay against, or would I still have been your target?
So you would have been my target still,
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
But I feel like so if like Anthony won veto anyways and vetoed, I would have considered it, and I don't know what I would have done in the moment, but right now I think I would have still targeted you.
Okay. Okay, and then my next question was, wait, let me look at it. Okay, my question is, why do you think you were left out of so many decisions? Like, I feel like you and Sarah G were, because you were paired together or whatever, were left out of decisions, but I feel like Sarah knew a lot more than you did. So why do you think you were left out of so many decisions? And then how did you work to combat that?
Okay. So I think I was left out of a lot of decisions. Because like early on, I was social, but I wasn't social on the game level. And that's admittedly a fault of mine. I think that was like my biggest issue in general, was like my lack of game talk. And that's kind of like what left me out, because I feel like a lot of the perception right now is, oh, he just did whatever Sarah wanted, which I get why that is a perception. But while I don't think that's fully reality, I think my lack of game talk early on got me in some trouble. And then with the crystal thing, Sarah didn't really know about it. She just kind of made her own plan because she wanted her own thing to happen. So she pushed herself into it. I straight up wanted Joseph out. I was like, he has a crystal. I don't want to go through another final 10 week. So I think, depending on the occasion, either my high association with Sarah, which admittedly was a fault, and I worked on my way to combat that by distancing myself. And I think that's evident. Like, she wanted me out over Alyssa. I stayed. I used that information to distance myself. Worked a little bit, not fully. I established other connections. Anthony tells me information. I use that information to further distance myself, to the point where Anthony nominated 3 people on live night to target Sarah, and I didn't go up at all. When I could have been, if I was a pair with her, I would have been. I did a great job of distancing myself. And I feel like the reason why I was left out was because of my association. I combated that pretty well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, period. Hi, Zach.
Wow. Hands up.
Okay. What do I have to? Oh, I have to. For that POV competition with reblogging, did you like throw that, or like did you just forget about the trick that you did in Kalos? Because I was like so confused when I saw your post and y'all only have like 10k notes and we were like at like 60k or something. Did you just like forget about the Kalos trick?
Okay, no. So we did the X kit thing the entire time, but I couldn't remember what I did in Kalos. Cause I was like, there was a way where I got 100 reblocks per like click, but I googled it. I was drunk tonight. It was posted. I was like, I'm on wine. I was drinking wine. I was like, how Tumblr reblog kit? I forgot. And at that point, I was like, one of my targets, because you two were my targets, conveniently enough. So I was like, one of them will be leaving. Who cares if I lose? I spent a lot of time into it, and thank you to everyone that helped. But I forgot. I was like, I don't remember what I did.
Period. Okay. I don't like have like a lot of game knowledge I need from you. I think I feel like I know like enough about you. I feel like, and like in your closing statements, I think you'll like, because if I were gonna ask you a game related question, it will be why should I vote for your game over Veronica and Roxy's games? But I feel like you're gonna do that in your closing statement, so I don't want to waste any time here. So I guess like I'll just like ask like a fun question. If you could marry one of me, Ashrika and Shoaib, who would you marry?
I would say Ashrika, because her and I have a relationship in this game, and I know I'm gay, I promise. But the why I would choose Ashrika was because her and I have a relationship in the game, which is so funny. Like we didn't work together a lot, but we just call me like, Did you try to get Julie the back door, you mean? Yeah. Did you? Yeah. Like, it was just a very honest, and it was, like, relieving to have that. And the funniest thing that Ashvika ever said to me in this game, and everyone loves it that I've sent to, was her being like, I enjoy having you in this game. And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, I don't have to be fake and pretend I want you here. Like, so, like, I think I would choose Ashvika.
Aw,
Sorry, Yosef. I
that's
know.
cute.
It's close between you two.
Well, that's cute. Well, congrats you all. My sister needs me, so I'm gonna go. But Yosef, you can finish up.
Oh, that was not okay. That was not okay.
Okay, that's all I had to ask, I think. But thank you so much, Nicholas, for letting us go together. And you all played great, and I love you all. And have fun in your closing statements, okay?
Bye, Yosef.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Adios.
Oh, okay. So now we are finally done with the jurors' questions. So you guys are each going to get 3 minutes to make any closing remarks that you have. As said before this started, it'll be reverse alphabetical order. So we will start with Zach whenever you're ready.
All right. So again, I want to thank everyone for their time tonight. It means a lot, and I'm finally excited for this game to be over. I feel like I said a lot in this Q&A, but I feel like I am deserving of the title when you think about Revival and the chaoticness that it's been and the darkness that it's been. I feel like I represent it well, and I feel like from day one I was always in the spotlight, and despite the odds, I still made it here. I will admit to my flaws. Early on, I lacked game talk, and that's what caused me to fumble the ball, get blindsided. I isolated myself. It happens. But I feel like I recovered really well. And after I fought so hard to stay against Alyssa, despite being told the night before that I wasn't going to stay, I proved myself, I feel like, and I was flexible. And that's why I went about 8 weeks after that nomination without touching the block again. I made Final 6 before being nommed by anyone other than Ashvika. And I get that I comped out near the end, and I definitely needed Final 4 and 5, and that could be a detriment. But I got the Final 6 without ever touching the block besides Ashvika, and I feel like my game was my own game. Yes, it was close with Sarah, but I knew from day one if I played the biggest, boldest game, I wouldn't make it to the end. I would not even make it that far. So I did my best to just look like a follower. And at times I was, because I had to choose which wars I wanted to fight. And I feel like I did what I set out to do. I managed to lay back. Everyone targeted Sarah. Just when I found out I was highly assumed with her, I distanced myself. I didn't get nominated during live night by Anthony or by anyone. I didn't even win a comp in live night. And I feel like I combated my flaws, and I feel like I proved myself. I fought hard from day one, and it's not easy having the spotlight on you, whether for your name or anything, and still making it to the end. I feel like I was an active person in the narrative of the game and the storyline, and I fought so hard to be here, and I didn't give up. I went 28 hours yesterday, or 27 in endurance, to prove it. And I hope you consider voting for me. I hope you realize that. Yes, I was close to Sarah. I had my own game. I wasn't even that close to Sarah in pre-jury, but I still got here, and I combated my issues, and I proved myself. And yeah, I'll say thank you again. Good luck to Veronica and Roxy. No matter what happens, I love you all. But obviously, I hope it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Zach. Veronica?
All right, so I feel like, okay, first of all, I feel like all three of us will kind of say a lot of the same points, because I do think genuinely, I love this final three. I do, like, I've been trying to, like, you know, rag on some Zach, because everyone has had this perception of voting for him, and I don't think everyone else has been given a fair shot, even when it came to, like, Elijah and Louise and Roxy and I, especially us couple, like, people haven't been giving us the fair shot, or I guess chance to really explain our thought process and how the games that we played were best for what was for us, especially for what we were given. I genuinely do think that my game encompasses the very idea of Revival. I came into this game as a second place loser who would have had died for my allies. I was so loyal to them, and I got locked into the useless goat narrative because I didn't want to betray the people that I trusted and loved. And Lovin' Jones hours every hour of the fucking day. Beck, I love him. They're in my DR as they should have been from the beginning. Had to, survive the block and vote in the minority to get them there, but they are surely there. But I had a target from my back because from week 1 from Anthony, because he was pointing out my previous connections and how I hosted a lot of people and how I have these year-long friendships. I had some that people didn't even know about. And so it wasn't even like I came into this super close with them because I hadn't talked to people in like 3 years. Zach and I literally, our like last Skype conversation was from like 2017. It was a long time and I had to work on building those things up. But it was also a detriment to my game because other people were using that as a target. I was a social threat and I was stupid. I will admit that I shouldn't have like thrown my again, the alliance was Veronica throws away her game for 2 straight men. Like I definitely was so loyal to them and I probably shouldn't have, and I learned from that and I didn't make that mistake. And I guess in a way it kind of came off cold or unwilling, I guess, for some of the people I was working with, because I definitely was thinking of me only. I didn't care about anyone else. I didn't want people to make it to the end. I didn't care because I wanted to make it to the end. I've always played from the very beginning. I wanted to play a better game than I did in Rancy because I felt like people didn't care think that I could play a good game, but this is my 6th Big Brother game. I've never been worse than 4th. I know how to play the game, and this was the ultimate test to prove that. Rancy was preschool. This was fucking grad school. Like, I have never been evicted. From these 3, I've never been evicted. And I am the only finalist to never win a comp. I've only won 1 in my 2 seasons. Tomorrow will be my 100th day. So I have other qualities to push me through and manage the perceptions that other people have. Granted, I played a little too much into it because I wanted to secure my ending, and I didn't want people to then realize that I was doing more this entire time than they realized, because again, I wasn't telling people any information because everyone leaked. I didn't trust no one to the most, and I was honest for the most part. Again, I called people slimy to their faces, and I will again. And anyways, I am proud of the game that I played overall. And I hope I win. Sarah G, you love Lucas, and guess who was the 2nd place person in their first season and then won? Lucas. So you should, it's the same story. Forget Zach. Hello, vote for me. Just saying.
Okay, thank you so much, Veronica. Last but not least, Roxy, take it away.
Okay. Revival. I had first his Big Brother Pokemon. I was first boot in Ore, Bryce and Randy, and I was 14th or whatever in Sinnoh. So this was literally a revival of my Big Brother Pokemon career and my Tumblr. As people know, I've played multiple orgs at the same time, and this is the first Tumblr org I've been in as just this org. So you guys got to see me 100%. Like, I poured my social, my strategy, I put everything into this game, and I think it definitely shows. I was able to completely outdo my previous placement, and I'm here at the end, and I was set to make the end round 1, and anything I did until this point was to solidify my sport and to have a game to showcase to you guys. I was not a follower. I never played for anybody else's game. I played for myself. I judged of what I was seeing. I had a good sense of awareness socially and strategically. I had a good sense of awareness, and I was able to use that to navigate through the game. I never had a low point in my game. I was the only finalist who didn't have to fight my way up from the bottom because I didn't create an opportunity for myself to be at the bottom. I was never at the bottom of any game or any vote. I was never at the bottom of anyone because my social game was that strong. My strategic game secured my spot in a lot of circles, in a lot of people's games. I was a part of their game that they could not get rid of because I was a building block, somebody they can come to make moves, somebody they can come to if they want to make things happen, and somebody they can trust because I didn't leak stuff, I didn't throw anybody under the bus, and everything people said about me were all lies because they couldn't use anything I said against me because I was just so straight up, straightforward, and I knew what I wanted. Only times I wavered was when I was like on call with players and they said their pitch and I was considering it. I always considered all the different angles. I was always thinking strategically. I was also always playing socially. And I was never, ever, ever a follower of anybody. I chose allies based off who I trusted and based who I thought would get me to the end the best way. The only thing working against me, the only flaw, if you put my game next to everybody's, my one has the least flaws, and the biggest flaw of my game is not something within my control, which is perception. Perception that was not handed to the players, which I am so passionate about. The reason why I'm so passionate is because I find it unfair that perception is the only reason why players aren't really seeing my game for what it was, which was like socially strong, strategically strong. I physically won stuff, but I didn't need to win anything to make moves. I didn't need a head of household to make a move because every single round was a move. Every single round was a piece in the puzzle of my game that led me to the end with a game to present to you guys. Flexible, reliable, and always logical. I hope you look at my game and consider it because I feel like some of you are overlooking it, not really giving me a chance to listen to me. I am proud of my game, and I did my best given the situation I was given. I did my best given the ability I had and the abilities everybody else had, and I think that Elise deserves it. Zach, I love you, Veronica. You both were my number one at some point in this game, and like, got the moment you call saying all your tea, spilling all your tea, I'm like, I'm gonna stay, Veronica. We're gonna get to the end. We're gonna do this, and we fucking did. Like, I think no matter what they say, we are going. You should be proud. I feel proud. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me. Zach, I love you. Whatever. Like, and I would marry literally all of you. Okay, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Roxy. Thanks, Final Three. Again, congratulations on making it to the end of this game on a returning season. That's a big accomplishment for each of you in different ways. So that concludes the Q&A after about 2 hours. So Roxy, go about your day. Zach and Veronica, get some sleep. This time tomorrow at 8, we'll have our winner. And we'll have a winner reveal. So thanks, everyone. Adios.